All right, what's good, YouTube family? It's your guy Ken, and we're back for another episode of Conversations with Ken Lawrence. Tonight, I have a treat, man. Tonight, I'm so honored to have the opportunity to talk to this brother, man. Really deep guy, really deep guy. Actually, the first person that I've actually interviewed that I actually know. Everybody else that I've interviewed so far have been people that I have met through other people, but tonight I have the opportunity to interview somebody that I actually know, somebody that I have a ton of respect for. And we're just going to talk about things that most of you never hear talked about in a public setting. We're talking about manhood, not the edited version of manhood where egos get in the way, but real manhood, what real manhood looks like. So go ahead. Let's get this conversation started. Going to give you guys a second to share this video and go ahead and tag somebody that you think can benefit from this. Go ahead and like the page. Go ahead and subscribe to the page and hit that notification bell. So let's get this thing started. Man, y'all saw the thumbnail. Y'all saw the thumbnail, man. You see what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about fidelity. We're talking about family. We're talking about faith from a perspective that a lot of you have never heard it from. So, like I say, man, once you meet this guy, you'll understand why all the accolades are there. You'll understand why I'm so honored to have him on the call. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bring him up because I don't want to waste any more time. What's going on, dude?
What's going on, Ken, brother? It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, wouldn't have it any other way, man. How was your day?
Today was busy, man. Today was a good day, though. Productive in every facet. I try to be productive work-wise. I try to be productive family-wise, and I always also try to be productive my personal revenue and business-wise. So that's every day, and
Yeah,
for spiritually.
absolutely.
So man, today was a very productive day. So I cannot complain. How about yourself?
Oh man, good day, man. Went saw my mom. Hadn't saw her this new year because of COVID and stuff. So went saw my mom. Brought her to the doctor, man. So the opportunity to see her and to see her health getting better was definitely something that I looked forward to. So yeah, today was definitely a good day.
That is good to hear, man. Especially when it comes to family, you know how that is.
Yes, sir. So, guys, look, as you all join the conversation, do us a favor. Do us a quick favor, man. We really would appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel. These conversations we're going to have tonight are how we're going to build our platform. We're going to build our platform on having what I call elevated conversations. There's a whole lot of foodery going around right now. It's a whole lot of things that I feel like takes away from the culture. So we're trying to start a positive channel where we can have guys and girls who actually break it down and have great conversations about things that actually matter. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, go ahead and like this video. And if you truly find value in it, then go ahead and share it because hopefully what we talk about tonight will be a blessing to somebody. All right. Cool. Let's rock. So, man, once again, if I haven't said it already, really appreciate you having this conversation with me, man. We've talked briefly, in some interactions, but I really wanted to get you on, just have a real conversation with you because, I see from afar a lot of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And man, you killing it, bro. You're killing it, man. You're doing a lot of positive things, a super creative guy. So where did all his creativity come from?
Man, that is a great question. I've always been creative since I was a teen, man. I've always had a mindset. I've always had and even a kid, I always had just a vivid imagination. I used to play with in my backyard. I didn't have toys, so I used to create my own characters. Back in the days, I might be dating myself a little bit, playing Ninja Turtles, right? And I used to be in the backyard, and I used to be all the Ninja Turtles, bro, by myself. So I always had a vivid imagination, and I've always had a big outlook of how I wanted to do things since I was a child, and I just use that creativity to do in fashion. I use that creativity musically, even book wise, and even when it comes to ministry. I try to bring my imagination. I'm grateful that I didn't lose it, because life has a way of stripping you from your imagination, your creativity at times.
Oh yeah.
But I'm glad that I was able to just hold on to that and then apply it even as an adult.
Yeah, I say that all the time, man, that kids in so many ways are so far ahead of adults. If you talk to a kid and ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up, huge dreams, huge aspirations, astronauts, doctors, lawyers, pharmacists, police officers, and then somewhere along the line, reality kicks our butt to the point to where adults forget to dream.
That's facts.
Now we have to squash our dreams because reality tells us that there's a glass ceiling that we can't get beyond. So yeah, I respect that. I respect somebody that can step outside the box and actually be themselves organically and still dream, man, still have that kid like enthusiasm about you, even though you're a mature adult. That kid like enthusiasm, I think, is much missed in our society now.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that, especially when it comes to the perspective of creativity. I do believe that that is a part of your brain that you had as a kid, as an imagination that through life we lose.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I've never lost. And I think as a music, as an artist, I've always tapped into it. So it makes it just more, I guess, more easier for me to necessarily use it in other aspects because I
Mhm.
tap into it so frequently as an artist.
Yeah.
But I see it being lost by so many people.
Yeah, yeah. We live in a society now where everybody copies everybody. Everything from fashion to the verbiage that we use
Man,
to the things that we consider to be entertainments. Like everybody now wants to be a carbon copy of somebody else versus just being their authentic self. And yeah, authenticity is definitely at an all-time low right now, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I think that, man, I just kind of put a post on Facebook about that. And I think it's pressure of society. I think that's
Yeah.
one thing that society does. Like it boxes people in to try to make them uniform. The
Mm,
way they think has to be uniform or you ostracized. The
right.
way you dress is uniform or you ostracized. The way that you even live your life, if this is not in a certain parameter, you're ostracized. So yeah, I agree with that. They make you uniform. They cut away your originality and your uniqueness, and you feel the pressure to do whatever everybody else doing. And so it takes someone with a boldness. It takes someone with saying, you know what, I'm not going to even look at what society is trying to teach me to do or even trying to steer me into the pressures of following. I'm going
Mhm.
to be uniquely me. And I'm going to
Right.
let me uniquely be me, regardless of what others may say or feel. That's a
Yeah.
pressure that some people just don't want to embrace.
Right. Right. So, man, I haven't allowed you to do an introduction. We just got into this thing and started talking, but I know there are some people right now who are joining the conversation who have not met you, man. So where are you from? What school did you go to? What college did you attend? Just talk to us. Let us know who you are.
Yes, sir. My name is Ewell Netter. I am from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, originally. I went to college in Houston. I went to the Art Institute of Houston. I have a minor in graphic design and I have an associate's degree in graphic design and multimedia web design. I then came back to Baton Rouge. I obtained a master in theology, a master in theology, and also a doctorate in biblical psychology. I am a
Nice.
licensed biblical counselor, a licensed biblical therapist that I got to update to get my certification updated, but I am licensed. Um, I came back to Baton Rouge for two reasons. Initially, I came back because my mom was sick, so I can relate to you when you say your mom health is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I came back initially for that, but I then begin to look into music and look into how to become a rapper. That was my goal. That was my dream. That was always my thing. I wanted to be a rapper. And tried and did different things, had different offers on the table initially when I came back to Baton Rouge and also in Houston, had made some connections and then tried to do it when I came back to Baton Rouge as well, made some connections, made a little bit of local airway, not much, not anything famous. And then eventually it became a frustration for me to try to tap into the radio. My issue is that I never wanted to play the politic game. Even when I wanted to do things like I always realized that I never wanted to play people game. And even when it comes to music, what I initially found out is, yo, you have to play some politic games. You have to send it to the radio station. You got to know certain people, or you got to make certain connections. And I never wanted to do those things. Like I was never interested into doing those things. I always just wanted to provide content.
Yeah.
That was always my thing, always being a creative. But it was hard for me to do the politicking, the PR work. Like I just no desire for it. So I kind of fell back from music based on that. I lost a lot of love for the politics of music, but never the love from actually doing music.
Right.
But I stopped. And in that midst of all that, I'll be honest with you, a radical transformation began in my life. Where it began initially from not wanting to do music. Then I started questioning what was my purpose. Then I got into a very dark place of depression during that time. And during that depression, God found me. I wasn't in a church. I always tell Christians that because they love to tell you have to be saved a certain way. And then when I tell them how I was saved, how God met me, how God found me, it always shocks them. but I often relate it back to even some scriptures. But I got saved in my car. Nobody was there with me. I was listening to Willie Moore Jr. in my car, and I reached out to God and I said, if you're real, because I heard who you were for my mom, I heard who you were for my dad, but you seem fake to me through those eyes. I want to know you for myself. If you're real, I spend my life serving you. But if you're fake, I'll tell the world and spend my life letting the world know that you're fake. That came out my mouth. And that day, I've never been the same. He showed himself to me. He opened my heart in ways that I didn't think my heart could be open. I got saved in my car going to work. I wasn't in any one church. He gave me a desire to want to go to church through his spirit. I eventually got filled with the Holy Spirit, but it wasn't in church. It was not going to church, in my living room, praying by myself, just asking God, I want to know you.
Wow.
Nobody was there. Me in the front room with my wife.
Well, that's solid though. That's solid in so many ways because number one, there wasn't any peer pressure.
No,
because it was just you. It was just you and God, and then you can say that there was an elevated amount of love there because it was an intimate relationship. It was just you and him. just having one-on-ones, you telling him what you needed in order to come and walk with him, and then him giving you exactly what you need in that time. And like I said, the fact that there was no peer pressure there, that's solid, man. I like that.
Absolutely. So I correlated to in the Bible, there's a scripture of this man who comes to Jesus and he says that my son is possessed with demons, right? He's telling this to Jesus. And he says, and Jesus says, do you believe that I can? And let me rephrase that. He comes to Jesus and he says, I believe, but help my unbelief. He tells that to Jesus. That was kind of my interaction with God in my car, right? There's a part of me that believed to the point of reaching out to him. But even in that situation, I was saying, help my unbelief, because I believe enough to call out to you. But what I seen from other people is not who I believe you to be. So help my unbelief. And so there was a real authentic conversation with God that, as you just said, nobody pressured me into it, because it was a true, transparent conversation. And I do believe that is missing in a lot of aspects from church. Like, people do not feel like they can be real with God. They feel like they have to mask who they are in order to conversate with God. In a lot of situations, I was having a real conversation with him, even in the experience of being filled with the Holy Spirit. It was a real conversation with God. Me praying, nobody pushing me to do it. Me just wanting to know him deeply and trusting him. So I removed all the, I don't want to put it in a bad way. I removed all the things that people will use to kind of persuade you or manipulate you. It was just me and God in that situation. It was just me and him. And man, so I agree with you. It definitely was no pressure there. It was just me saying, hey, listen, I'm depressed. I'm in a position of desperation. I can honestly say I was even agnostic. I did not believe in church per se, the religious aspect of it, but I did believe there was always a God.
Yeah.
But so I knew to cry out to this God, and he actually just radically changed my life doing that.
You know, you said something that we definitely going to touch on later on in the segment, that you believed in God, but you questioned the church.
Absolutely.
I think there are a lot of people, especially men, who have gotten to that point.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, at one point in time, I was one of those people. So we'll definitely talk about that later on in the show. So, what did you do for a living, man?
Well, I've always been one who trained. So I do many things, but my main task right now is I'm a trainer, I'm a learning specialist at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana.
Okay.
I'm a trainer.
So did they have you back in the office yet?
Sometimes I go there just to break the monotony of it, but we do train remotely. But
okay,
training is one of those things that you can do virtual, but it's nothing like being face to face. So there is a part of me that does miss face to face communication with people, because as a trainer, it's just something about making sure the learner understands the information and facilitating in a way they can receive it. That does get lost remotely, just from a virtual standpoint. I'm getting better with it, but there's definitely some aspects I do meet. So we're hybrid.
Yeah, and my wife, she works at Blue Cross too. She's in IT there. So when I passed by that building, man, and remember that parking lot used to be so full. That parking lot used to overflow. The parking garage was full. And now to pass by there now and see 10, 15 cars in the parking lot, man, it's kind of eerie.
It's like a ghost town when you go there now. It's like a ghost town, man. It's a ghost town. But they are, I can say that they are slowly but surely coming back.
Yeah, they told them that they're not going to bring them back. I know they were always trying to find room in the building because they were overpopulated. So they've realized that they can do anything that they need to do remotely. And if they have to go in and go to the hard drives to the servers, they can. But they figured out that they can run IT remotely without even them having to be there. So they
Man, that's
haven't been
dope.
back at all since this whole thing started.
Yo, that's dope for them. That's dope for them. I miss it in some aspects, man. I miss the camaraderie with the team and training and again face-to-face communication with learners. I always just pride myself to be an introvert. I think the more I grow, the more I learn. I'm more extrovert than I thought I was. Like I miss the communication with people. That is an aspect I miss.
Yeah. You're probably like me because I always thought I was an introvert too. And I realized, I'm not really introvert. I just have a tribe of people that I actually rock with a little bit more than others.
Yeah,
Some people, the people who know me know I'm crazy as heck. People who don't know me think I'm standoffish, but I'm kind of particular about who I invest my time in. So I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress in that area.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree. I'm the same way. Like the people that know me. I'm very animated. I'm very lively. But if
Hmm.
you don't know me, I'm extremely reserved. And that's because I'm a pastor now. And a lot of people have this box of how they put pastors in. Like you can't be a animated pastor. You got to be a pastor that walk past you and lay hands on you. No, I'm very outgoing. I'm very animated. I have a sense of humor. People, yes, pastors can have a sense of humor too. But I'm particular with people,
Yeah.
particular with certain people that I show that side to.
Yeah. So, man, I'm gonna dive into this thing, man. First of all, we're gonna jump into the faith segment of this conversation. So, I know you talked about when you first found God or when God first found you, that everything was personal, that it was done inside the home, it was done inside the vehicle.
Yep.
What was it that brought you to the building? What brought you into church? And more or less, what was it about your particular church that I think is an amazing church that actually brought
Mhm.
you to that particular church?
What man? God brought me to church.
Mm,
Because I wasn't fooling with church. Um, God brought me to church. It was one day that God just, it was a while that I started to begin to read the scriptures, read the word, and I just told my wife, my fiance at the time, it's time for us to go to church. It's time for us to find a home, a church home, and it's time for us to grow our family into God. Like we say we believe God, but we don't go to church, and it's just not gonna work.
yeah.
Um, I'll be honest, man, it was God. And I'll tell you why. The first initial church that I went to, it's only been two churches I've been to as an adult on my choosing, my own. Um, but the first church I went to, um, my cousin went there. I had a cousin who went to this church and she threw a party for my aunt. And they had two locations.
Hmm.
She threw a party for my aunt in the second location that they had for the church. So one day I had the invitation. One day I'm in the kitchen and the party been happened, bro. Like I didn't go to it at all. Like the party been happened. I just looked at the invitation and I saw the church on it and I said, let's go to this church. So when we went to the church that Sunday, I know this is I know this to be God. It's too many coincidences to happen. When I go into church that Sunday, my cousin's there. Now this cousin is from Atlanta. She's not even from Baton Rouge. So she happens to be there that Sunday. My goddaughter is there that Sunday, and they don't go to church. A close friend was there that Sunday, and another close friend was there that Sunday, and his son was being baptized that exact Sunday that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I knew none of this. So when we go into the church, me and my wife is like, oh, such and such, such and such, such and such, such and such. This is crazy. So we end up going into church, and that just gave us a homely feel. But what actually drew me in with this specific church before I joined was listening to the word of God from the pastor it was so different than I heard it ever before. Like he was teaching the word.
Right. Right.
And I didn't experience that when I was a teen. I never experienced it. So he was breaking down the word in a way that I was like, whoa, I never experienced the Bible the way he's teaching it. So that gravitated me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're going to talk about why men leave church. So I'll go into that later, but continue going to that specific church for about a month, and we joined about a month and a half later. But that was the initial way that I came to church. God led me there. Now, the church that I currently go to is All Nations Worship Assembly, Baton Rouge in New Orleans. And how I ended there is also God. Because I wasn't going to leave the initial church that I joined. I was not going to leave that church. I was just like, okay, I had gotten all of these titles at the church. I was in all of these positions. I became a minister. Was teaching Sunday school. I was doing media camera. I was the leader of man ministry. I was close to the pastor. He was begin to pull on me to do Bible studies. Like the progression of me in this church was getting to a place where I was going to be, I don't like a bit in title. I was already huge there per se, but the progression was going to be me eventually pastoring on a pulpit. Like he imparted me his pastoral anointing and everything. I just thought, yo, I'm not going anywhere. One day, bro, Holy Spirit, the presence of the Holy Spirit wasn't there. Just one day I was serving in media ministry on the camera, and I didn't feel anything. And that never happened to me. And I was like, yo, I don't sense God here. And that's nothing to do with that church. I want people to understand that. I don't want people to think that that was that church, because I've been at that church for years. So I initially thought, yo, I'm on all of these roles. I'm in youth ministry. I'm in men's ministry. I'm on a camera media ministry. I'm Sunday school. I'm doing all of these things. Maybe I need to pull back from some things, focus more on preaching the word of God and ministry, right? Being a minister, so I can hear from God again. So I'm praying to God, like, God, you got to give me the words to step down from some of these ministries, because I don't know what to tell them. I feel an obligation and a responsibility. So you got to give me the words to say. God didn't give me the words to say when I thought he was going to give me the words to say. So it was months. I'm still in these auxiliaries, right? I'm still like, yo, I don't know where to go. God, I'm not feeling your presence here. Something is wrong. I'm not going to move though until you tell me to move. So one day, God says, I don't want you to step down from any ministry. I want you to leave the church. And I'm trying to navigate with God. Like, God, are you sure? And I didn't want to ever leave this church. So is it really you? And if it is you telling me to leave the church, because I don't want it to be based on me, you're going to have to direct me to the church to go to. I don't know any other church. I'm not visiting other churches. I'm not doing that. You're going to have to lead me to the church. And yo, I'm thinking I'm outsmarting God, right?
Yeah.
So it's Easter. It's Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday, that weekend. And Friday, the church I was currently going to was having like the 7 words, and they wanted everybody to dress up, and it's gonna be amazing. God told me not to go to that. He said, "You're not gonna go there. I want you to worship me." That was the words he said to me. He said, "I don't want you to go there because you're gonna have to work. I want you to worship me." I was like, "God, where I'm gonna worship you at? Because I can't go to my church to worship you because I'm gonna
Right.
be put
Yeah.
in either on the media ministry. I'm gonna be placed in a position of where I'm not gonna be able to just focus worship on you."
Right.
Man, I end up seeing a flyer for Love Alive at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I was like, yo, I've never been here before. They're worshiping on this Friday. I just want to worship God, so I'm gonna go here. Man, I end up going there, and the first person I see when I come into the building is Pastor Rowe. Don't really know him at all, so I just say, "Hey, how you doing?" Soon as I go into church, kind of like it's like the soon as I go into church, this is not coincidence. This is God. You remember when I told you that I had a friend and a goddaughter
Mm-hmm.
that when I initially went into the first church,
Yeah.
my friend and my goddaughter was at this church on that night.
Wow. Yeah, definitely not coincidence.
That's not, I mean, they in the church. So I go in the church, I see my friend and my goddaughter, and I see some other people that I know. So that gave me this homely feel.
Right.
And man, once I walked in the church and they began to sing and worship, your boy got just eyes all messed up, crying and worshiping on the ground. I'm like, yo, this is amazing. This is an amazing feeling. I'm like, yo, this is exactly what I needed. And I'm blown away, right? I don't think about going to this church again after that, though. Me and Pastor Mike Carter are making this album. Shout out to Pastor Mike Carter. We're making a rap album with us as a duo called Cast Out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why I'm giving you this story. One of the songs, the lead song on this album, has Pastor Rowe on it. So Pastor Mike Carter, shout out to Mike Carter. He calls Pastor Rowe to come to the studio to do his part for the song.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Rowe comes to the studio and he was like, "Oh, I just saw you at the worship event." I said, "Yo, I did." And I mean, soon as I saw him, we kind of hit it off. He plays tracks from an upcoming album that he did, and man, it was just an organic communication. And he ends up laying down vocals for the song. We end up doing a video. We get more closer, and I end up getting his number from there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No
In the story.
communication. No communication. I go back to my church. I'm still like, "God, I'm here until you give me where to go." One Saturday, Pastor Rowe texts me out the blue, and he says to me, God wanted me to invite you to my church this Sunday."
Mm.
And at first I was like, "Nah, I can't really go because I got Sunday school I'm teaching, and I got to do media ministry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll probably have to make some time to kind of do it another Sunday, et cetera, et cetera." I gave all of the excuses, bro.
Yeah.
God stopped me soon as I got off the text with him and basically said, "You're going to go there. The only thing I want you to do is teach Sunday school, and you're going to go directly there." So I go to my church, teach Sunday school, go get my wife and my kids, and we end up going to Love Alive. End up going there. I remember that Sunday because they had no air. Something was wrong with the air. We're on the front row, bro. We're on the front row, and God just tells me this is your new home. Just it was soon as I entered into the building on a Sunday, bro. God just says this is your new home.
And I think
This
things
is
like that can happen. I think that everything has a purpose. And I'll speak for me personally. When I was going through some things, that's how God got my attention, put me through the struggle. So I
mm-hmm.
went to a local church, and at that point in time, just to be honest with you, I needed something to get my attention to keep me coming back. I wasn't ready to come there every Sunday yet. So I needed
Mm,
something to keep me there, to bring me back. Ironically, this church had an amazing choir. They could blow.
mm,
And for a period of time, that kept me coming. That kept me in that church. And then it got to a point to where I actually needed a spiritual leader. I needed somebody there that I could relate to, somebody that their words spoke to me. And at that particular church, I wasn't getting it. So then I walked
yeah.
away after I had matured a little bit to a church where the pastor actually was talking to me. It was like when he was preaching, the whole church was empty, and it was just he and I. And the
Yeah.
way I knew it was the right pastor was because he could preach a sermon on Sunday, and Wednesday I was still convicted by it.
Mm,
So that's how I knew I was growing spiritually, and that there's a such thing as spiritual maturity, where that glove that once fits you spiritually, you outgrow it, and you have to go somewhere else to be fed. So I definitely understand what you're talking about in that situation.
yeah. Man, it was listen, it was a struggle for me. Just to transition because that church is all I knew, right? As an adult, they watched me mature, man.
Mm-hmm.
They built me in the faith. Like I still keep in contact with some of the men there because they were mentors to me.
Right.
The pastor, he really embraced me in a lot of ways. He saw the desire for God on me, and even though we weren't like text each other every day, hi, bye, there was definitely a desire. It's definitely something that he saw in me that allowed him to continue to pour into me and sow into me. And hey, I want you to preach this Bible study for me. And hey, I'm gonna put you over this position, and I know that you're gonna do it well. It I'm gonna be honest with you. So it was that transition process of going from there to Love Alive. It was difficult
Yeah.
because I did not know what to expect where I'm going. So it took faith. It took getting out of my comfort zone. But kind of like you also said, Ken, it was also maturity. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing: it wasn't maturity for me. It was for my family.
Right.
Because God, one of the things God revealed to me is this move isn't based for just you. It's based on your household.
Oh man. See, you talking now, and that's actually going to lead into something. This we're going to talk about just men and leadership, and the fact that when you're connected to God, man, God will give you that one-on-one, and the woman that you're with, the right woman, she will willfully and agreeingly just come on with you because she know where you're getting your instructions from. So you
Yeah.
already leading on to our next conversation, but before we get to that point, got a question, man. I know that you're in the church and that you're actually, a leader in the church. So
Yeah.
there's a difference between being someone who goes to church who's just a regular attendee and someone who actually has the vision to lead the church or be in the leadership council. So
Yeah.
how was it that you knew that the church that you were in, not only were you supposed to be there, but you were supposed to be out in front helping bring other people to the word?
Man, that's a great question. So I'll be honest with you. I never look for titles. I know some
Hmm.
people do. That's not my thing.
Right.
For me, I've always been close enough to leaders where I've seen the responsibility of the titles. And based on that responsibilities, I used to shy away from it. Now, I'll also be honest with you with that. That's not healthy.
Right.
because God can be pushing you into something and you're looking at the negative more than you're looking at what he's calling you to do.
Right.
However, what I will say is that when it was always, I knew that God always wanted me to be in leadership because it will always challenge me. And I never felt comfortable in it.
Mm.
And I know that seems crazy to some people, right? What I just said. But when you look throughout the Bible, and I can give you just one story, Gideon. Gideon never wanted to be in leadership. Matter of fact, God had to literally say, hey, he had to call him brave, mighty man of valor. Like he had to be in his like, oh, that's not me. You critic. Like he was, hey, you're gonna have to show me. Test me. If you want me to do this, test me. I was the same way, bro. Where it was, God, I'm willing to serve you wherever you want me to lead. And God will be like, okay, I want you to walk and lead men. I don't know about that, God, because these men are 60, 50 years old. I'm just 25, 30, and they're not going to necessarily listen to me. What did I tell you to do? And he always gave me a peace with it as well. Like it was never me just doing something nervous in a nervous aspect, but it was always, God, if you're leading me to do this, I'm going to do it. I always tell people, if you're going to get into leadership, first and foremost, you got to embrace your heart that you're going to be disappointed by people. That's number one. When you get into leadership.
Right.
You're going to be hurt by people. And you're going to have to have a heart that love them and look at their potential more than you look at their mess ups in leadership. I knew God directed me in leadership because I surrendered and said yes to him. Whenever you do that, he's going to put you in some form of leadership.
Yeah.
Whenever you say yes to God, he's going to put you in some position of leadership. Whenever you say, yes, I surrender, it's not even about me. It's about you. He's going to put you in some form of leadership. He's going to make you responsible for something because there's always an assignment attached to your yes.
And you know, it's ironic, man, that it's almost like we pray the same prayer. You know, whenever I make a big decision, I always tell God this. I said, I need you to help me with this. I need you to show me a sign.
Yeah.
But I need the sign to be so big. I need the sign to be so huge that I know it can't be anybody but you.
Yes. Yeah.
And people always talk about my confidence level, about the way I carry myself. I can do that because when I pray that prayer, the ironic part about it, I always say I think God has me on speed dial. I think I'm on one of that 1 through 10 level. So when I pray about something, they say he may not come when you want him, but he comes right on time. Most times my answer comes instantaneously.
Yeah.
So if I pray about something, I sit back and I wait.
Yeah.
And I have both eyes open because I know that it won't be long. And it's usually not anything that I can misconceive. It's not anything that I have to interpret. He gives it to me exactly the way I asked for it. Give it to me to where I know that it can't be anybody but you.
That's good, bro.
Yeah.
I think that's really good.
And it could be, it could be it could be me asking him to remove people who mean me no well. And all of a sudden, from some people, the phone stops ringing. All of a sudden, I realize I got a Facebook friend or two less.
Yeah.
You know, people just fall off. I don't have to do anything to them. When I pray, the answer is almost immediate.
I'm the same way too. I don't even pray for people to leave per se. I just keep moving where God's telling me to move. And I trust whoever's not supposed to be there in the position he needs me to move, he's going to move them.
Right.
Like a lot of times I think that we can get caught up, and I'm not saying that you're doing what you're doing is wrong. I think I've noticed we'll get caught up on people, but I'm not caught up on people. I'm caught up on God. And I begin to shift my attention to him. And what tends to happen is wherever he points me to, he remove people. My foolish self will try to cling on and hold to people. You're like, no, come with me. God will push them out of, like, no, this person can't come with you, or this person can't be in this space with you. Something, and he'll reveal to me eventually why that is. So I've learned to just go to the position God has called me to, and you'll see different people and faces in the positions.
Yeah. And for me, I'm such a I like helping people. And I know that God knows that about me. So the ironic part about it is that wherever he puts me, he always reveals somebody to me who basically is my person while I'm there. I'm putting you
Yeah,
here because this person here needs you. And the only way that they can get the messages I want to give to them is through you. No matter who else I put here, there's nobody that's going to relay this message the way I need it relayed or the way that they're going to interpret it, but you. So the
that's
fact that I
good,
want to
bro.
be obedient to him and the fact that I love helping people is basically what brings me to those areas and keeps me there. Oh man, we got somebody in the chat, man. You may recognize this
Oh,
young.
that's
Yeah,
that's my sugar bunny.
yeah, you may recognize that young lady, man.
Hey, boo.
Appreciate you joining us, man. So yeah, man, it's ironic, bro. It's ironic that you said it like that. So we'll go ahead and we'll dive into that question, man. I asked you earlier when we were talking offline, and we're definitely going to revisit that conversation because we definitely should have had the cameras rolling when we were having that conversation.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
as I look throughout the landscape, man, when I was growing up, men were the heads of the church.
Mm.
Men led the church. Men, they were leaders in the church. Things like that. And somewhere along the line, there has been almost like a mass exodus of men out of the church. And I have my own philosophy about why I think that is, but I'll ask you, why do you think that men are leaving the church in the numbers that they're leaving in?
That's a really good question. So I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's one specific reason. I think it's multi-layered. To be honest with you, I think it's multi-layered. So I'll say this. I have a couple of reasons that I kind of jotted down in my mind. The
Mm-hmm.
first reason I'll tell you is this, is that I truly believe men are logic, that we are logical thinkers. And a lot of times church, and I'll be honest with you, not all churches are very, they tend to be, a lot of leaders spiritually, especially in today's age, are motivational speakers as opposed to logic speakers. I believe
Go ahead.
you can't fool man with emotional
Yeah.
preaching.
Talk,
You
bro.
can't fool man with emotional preaching. So a man knows when, hey, this person is just trying to emotionalize me,
Mm.
and this pastor is speaking that truth to me. So a lot of men, I think that's one reason. One reason is a lot of emotionalized pastors, a lot of motivation speakers, and not enough pastors and teachers of the word from a biblical standpoint. And that right there is unattractive to men. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of pastors who have clung to relational advice, and nothing's wrong with relational advice. But I do think that they became more motivational with their preaching as opposed to sound doctrine and teaching the word of God. And that has pushed some men away.
Yeah.
Another thing I believe is a reason is there's a lot of men who can't honestly have a relationship with God because they had no father in their homes.
Mm.
So how can I look at this invisible God as a father when I never had a natural father?
Oh, that's heavy. That's heavy.
How can I have a relationship with something I've never had?
Oh, that's heavy.
You know? So I think that is a stumbling block from some men.
That's
How can
hold
I
up, hold up,
surrender?
hold up. You ain't gonna run through that. That's heavy, dude. That's heavy, man. How can I God dog? How can I how can I follow a spiritual father that I can't see when I've never got an example from the physical father that wasn't there? Bro,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
So how can a man who never, and that's a stumbling block, and I believe it's also a demonic attack from the enemy. How can I, who didn't have a natural father to submit and love me, how can I receive that love from a spiritual father I can't see?
Oh, that's heavy. That's heavy.
And that becomes a stumbling block for men. So how
That's
can I say
heavy.
this man is my Abba, my father, and I be intimate with him, and I never had that intimacy from a natural standpoint?
Oh, that's heavy. That's heavy on so many fronts because on my Facebook page a couple weeks ago, I asked a question about why is it that men can't tell men that they love each other?
That's
You know,
good.
as a brother, why can't I tell another brother that I love him without there being some type of a sexual innuendo associated with that? And I
That's good,
think,
bro.
I think that it's because um another live that I had a couple weeks ago. You guys subscribe to the channel and go check it out. But we talked about if men are taught, are men being taught to be masculine, or are we taught to just be hard?
That's good.
Because it's a big difference.
It is.
It's a
It is.
big difference. And unfortunately, if you watch media right now, most media is telling men to just be hard. We
Yeah.
can't be emotional. We can't express ourselves. The only way that we exude any type of emotion is through violence. You know,
That's it.
if you think about when we were young, when we were kids, well, I won't say we, I'll say me. I'll personalize the message. I was taught that
Yeah.
boys don't cry,
Come on.
that boys don't show emotion.
You're preaching.
We don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Yet when we become men, the first thing that most women complain about is that
You're
men
not.
don't know how to show emotion.
That's it. Let me
We've
tell
been
you how
trained from
real.
day one not to do it.
Yeah. Let me tell you how real you are. So I have this men's group called His Insecurities.
Awesome.
We're on Facebook, by the way, men. Men is a men's group called His Insecurities. We had a meeting yesterday. I literally just said the same thing yesterday
Yeah.
that you're saying today. Society has created men to be robots. They've
Yeah.
made us not use our emotions at all. And exactly what you just said. I was watching this reality TV show, man. I find so many things in just television at times. I was watching this reality television show, and in the show, the women were crying at everything. Like when something hurt, they were crying. When the man cried, they were like, why is he crying? Like they asked that question. Man, I was watching I was watching one reality TV show, Married at First Sight. The guy basically said,
That's my show, man.
okay, so do you remember the situation with the girl from the New Orleans show where
Yeah.
the man said, I'm depressed, and because I'm depressed, sometimes I may need my own space. And she said, I need a man that's strong and masculine. When he
Yeah,
said
I
that,
remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
man of God, when I listen, society has made men not feel secure in saying that they are emotional. Yet, then the same man that snap because we hide our emotions.
Yeah.
Like we are trained to hold our emotions in.
Yeah.
You better not cry. Men don't cry. What are you
Right.
crying for?
Right.
We're taught that as kids. And so when men hold their emotions, what happens is their emotion shows in other areas, usually
Right.
violence.
Right.
Because if I hold my emotions in, they're going to explode. It's C4. What you're telling men to do is have mental breakdowns.
Yes, sir.
Statistics say this. 1 out of every 3 suicides. No, let me Men are most likely to kill themselves 73% more than women. That's statistics. Men are. They are more likely to kill themselves 73% more than women. Why? Men don't have anywhere to release their emotions.
Yeah.
So they suppress. We are taught to suppress our emotions.
Yeah.
We're taught to hold our emotions in, keep them bottled up. And then when we go into our marriages, when we go into relationships,
Parenting.
Yeah. We don't know how to express our emotion to our wives, our children, our friends. And then we go into these areas. The only thing we know how to do is provide.
That's it.
So we show our emotions through doing. My father never told me he loved me.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
But he showed me he loved me by his doing. Because that's what he was taught. He was taught never to say I love you. He was taught you show love by doing.
Right.
So we've been trained to do. And that's the way we love. We was trained to provide. That's the way we love. That's a form, though, right? And it's a bad form. We have to learn how to communicate in men, and we have to learn how to kill the stereotype that speaking with emotions, displaying our emotions, speaking healthily and properly about what hurts us is not feminine. It doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you soft. It doesn't make you less inferior or superior to anyone else. It is not your identity. Your emotions aren't your identity. And that's what society has told us. Your emotions is your identity. And whenever you do something that we told you not to do, then something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
The same society would then tell you, hey, mental health is important. Really? If it is, then you're going to allow me to express myself properly. You're going to allow me to give me the space to say, I'm hurt. I said this last night. I know I'm rambling. I apologize. I said this last
cooking,
night
bro.
in his insecurities. This year, we're going to be comfortable, man, saying we're weak. Because my Bible tells me, Paul says, when I am weak, he is strong.
Right.
How can I then allow God to be strong inside of me if I'm portrayed to be strong in every situation I encounter?
Yeah. It's almost like you don't have faith that if you have a bad day or have a bad moment, that there's something inside you that'll take over and sustain you while you're having that moment.
Absolutely.
Now, ladies, I know we got some ladies. We got some ladies watching right now. So, ladies, I'm about to speak specifically to you in this moment. I'm going to speak specifically to the ladies in this moment. And ladies, if you agree with me, let me know in the chat. I personally believe that in order for a man to truly love a woman, I mean, to be to the point to where he's comfortable with her, to where he will lay his life on the line for her at, a woman has to create an environment where a man feels that he can be vulnerable without judgment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ladies, let me know what you think. That if you want a man to love you unconditionally, if you want a man to be everything that God made him to be in your life, not to the world, not to the kids, but specifically to you, is it incumbent upon that woman to create an environment where a man feels that he can be vulnerable without judgment? Because there are some women, this is not a woman bashing segment at all, but there are some women who men feel that they can't be vulnerable to, that they feel that they have to be Superman 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They can't have those moments where you say, I feel tired right now. I feel weak. I'm lost. I'm not quite sure exactly where I need to go. Give me a moment to be able to lay down and be able to get my thoughts together. We can't be I always say this, and I said this in the previous live. If you run a machine long enough, eventually it's going to need maintenance. No different between men. Sometimes that maintenance is just mental maintenance, just the ability to unplug from the matrix for a second and think. Doesn't make us bad leaders. It doesn't make us bad men. It makes us human.
Yep.
It makes us human. So, ladies, I'll say that, give, if you care about this man, and if you know that this man is a great guy, create an environment where that man can be vulnerable. And I'm telling you, you talk about an investment and getting compound interest on an investment. If you show a man that he can be vulnerable, trust me, the return on the investment is going to be off the chart.
That's facts. That's facts.
The return on investment is going to be off the chart.
That's facts.
So we're gonna transition from the faith segment now to the family segment. And it's funny that we stopped at this point. We stopped at this point where we're talking about, the relationship that the woman has, where she has to create an environment where the man can feel vulnerable at. And I lead right into this question. This thing worked out perfectly. Do you believe that the man should be the head of the household?
Absolutely. I think that is critical. And before I go into that, we got to define what head of the household is.
Talk to him, bro.
So head of the household doesn't mean that I'm more superior than my wife. Because I think when people get that idea in their mind, they feel like, hey, I'm saying I'm the head of the household. That means that the man is the superior voice in the house. What that means is there has to have a voice that leads. And I think that's the position of the man. I 100% believe that needs to be the man in the house. But I never make a decision, listen to what I'm saying, without my wife.
Right.
Concerning our house, I never make a decision without my wife. But if my wife feel one way and I feel another way, as the man, as the leader, the head, someone has to say, okay, I understand you feel this way. I understand you feel this way. But baby, we got to go with this way. I've had to make some of those hard decisions, right? You want the man to be led by God while he's making these decisions. You don't want the man to be led by his emotion while making some of these decisions. You want to make sure that the man is led by God. My wife, who's currently in the chat, can tell you when it was time for us to leave the church. We just talked about the faith segment. She didn't want to leave the church. But I said, babe, I know I'm hearing from God in this thing.
Wow.
And God said, this isn't just for me. This is for us to grow. So we're going to leave. Ask her, is that not just the best decision I made? So the man has to, in situations, say, hey, we're going to do this. We're currently in a new home. We just moved into our new home October.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you. God is good. I was the one that said, okay, it's time for us to get a new home. So I think there are some decisions that someone has to be in the forefront to make, and it has to be the man. So I believe the order is always God, man, wife. They're on the same level. I don't want you to think they're on different levels. And then the children.
Right. Oh, so yeah, I almost can read your mind with the questions that I have for you, man. So with that being said, that the order that God puts it in is God, man, wife, and then children. Why do you think that there are so many women? I may lose power when I say this. The lights may flash, or something may drop out the ceiling and hit me. But why do you think so many women? I just had a thought when I said that. But why do you think so many women have a problem? Not even with the act, just the word submission brings up chaos and hellfire and brimstone. Why do you think so many women have a problem with the word submission? And I'll
That,
chime in on that at the end.
okay. I think that's a multi-layer question depending on that individual lady. I would definitely say one thing is, and I'm gonna put some of the onus on us men. The reason being is because they don't see men being leaders.
Talk,
So how
boy.
can you expect a woman to submit when they don't see leadership in the man? So because of that, I think women are hesitant to not submit based on that. When a woman see a man operating as a man and they feel secure, because there's that underlining factor there, where they feel secure in that man operating as a man, they have no problem with submitting. It's the issue of a woman don't see the man leading and operating as a man, and then this man is saying, you better submit to me, that they feel a certain way. Now, that's one reason. Another reason is they just got some women who don't want to submit to men. And we got to
Yeah.
be honest with that.
Yeah.
Sisters, ladies, some of y'all just don't want to submit. I'm a lead. I'm gonna do what I want to do. IENBPEDE. I don't know. I'm not spelling. Do you know what I mean, man? They want to be independent, right?
Oh man.
Right? They want to be independent. And because they want to be independent, and society tells them independence is how you should be, and that's a lie. Society, that's a lie. That they've embraced that perverted lie by society, not knowing that the family function has always been the most strongest function, and everybody has a position to play in the family function. So they don't want to depend on man because they've been informed their whole life independent. Girl, get your own money. Girl,
Yeah.
do your own thing. Girl, feel your own way. And because of that, now they have inserted that mentality. Society makes women feel they have to be independent.
Yeah.
And because of that, they don't want to find themselves submissive to a man because they want to be independent. Independent means if I be dependent on this man, that means I have to be vulnerable. That word that you mentioned earlier. That
Yeah.
means I have to be vulnerable. That means I have to wait for this man. I have to trust in this man. I have to lean on this man. I have to believe in this man. And I don't necessarily want to do that.
I think you kind of hit on a couple of the areas that I believe in too. Number one, I think that a lot of women have a problem with the word submission because number one, there's a misunderstanding of the word.
Absolutely.
There's a misunderstanding of the word. When you talk about submission, I, I personally, and I know a lot of people may disagree, I don't even think submission exists until you're married. You know, there's a reverence that you should have for your man if you're dating, but submission is something that you give to a husband. So first of all, you got to be married to a guy to willfully submit to him. I think submission is it's a responsibility, but it's also a choice. It's a responsibility because you're mandated by God to do it. But I
Yeah.
also think that it's a choice because I say it's a choice because it has to be earned.
Yeah.
Um, a woman has to feel comfortable enough in your leadership to where she will willfully and in some
100%.
situations even blindly follow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of brothers kind of drop the ball with that because we look at submission almost as punishment,
Yeah.
as almost I lead, you follow, and that's the end. There's some discernment that goes along with it. Nobody would blindly with open eyes walk into a situation that they don't have faith that everything's going to be okay with. And
Yeah.
like you say, there's a ton of peer pressure where the media right now. I think the media is just pushing it so hard right now to where it's almost like a gender war.
Yeah.
Women wanna lead. A lot of men are so, or I won't use the word weak, but I'll say weak. To the point to where they don't stand up and lead from a place of strength.
Yeah.
You got men right now who are okay with women being the heads of households, and like you say, it's not saying that they are second class citizens or that we're not equal in that regard. But our mandate is simple. That we have to show ourselves as leaders, and like you say, all women won't follow,
Yeah.
but we we don't have to be their covering either. If there's a woman that's not willing to follow your lead, then I think you have every right to allow her to figure it out by herself. Because I know for a fact, from experience, that's stressful. It's stressful trying to lead somebody that don't want to be led.
Yeah.
But I do put a lot of that on the men though. I put a lot of that on men because until we are presenting ourselves in the best image, until we are giving women the confidence and the reassurance that they can follow us and understand that everything's going to be okay. They understand that if it doesn't go well, we take responsibility for it. That's
Mm.
about that's being a leader. A leader is one who takes responsibility when things don't go well, as much as we do when it does go well. And I know for me in my house, when things don't go well, it falls on me. When things go
Yeah.
well, we did it. I share the
Yeah.
successes and I take all the blame for the failures, regardless of
Facts.
who I should point the finger at the end of the day. Like you said, that decision was made under my watch. So I'm going to
Yeah.
take full responsibility for it. Full responsibility for it. So, like I said, a
That's good.
lot of these things, man, as far as the way we think about it, man, we align on a lot of these areas. So now I'll just go ahead and jump to the fidelity part. The fidelity part. You mentioned it briefly, man, but tell us more about the His Insecurities podcast, the Facebook group, and everything you got going on with it.
Absolutely. His Insecurity is a Facebook group, but it's also a weekly tribe that I do via Zoom. That's for men. That is an atmosphere, because you mentioned that earlier. It's an atmosphere that's created for men to emotionally release the things that they're navigating, that they battle without the pressure, without the responsibility, without the judgment of society telling them you're not a man based on that.
Wow, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is, man, I'll be honest with you. I know I said this earlier that I find a lot of things in shows. I was watching a show. I was watching Greenleaf one day, which is more real than we like to. Greenleaf is probably the realest show I've ever watched on TV. So I'm watching Greenleaf one day, and there's a season on Greenleaf where the guy is battling homosexuality. He's
Mm-hmm.
battling with the thoughts. He's married to this woman, right, in the church, but he's battling attraction to men. And he could not go anywhere to communicate how he was feeling because he felt everywhere he went, he was being judged. He eventually told his wife. They eventually end up being divorced over it. At first, she was saying, "I'm gonna support you," et cetera, but really, it wasn't support. God just told me in that moment to create an atmosphere where men could feel supported. Like an issue like that can happen and they feel supported. Because even though every man don't battle homosexuality, there are men that battle lust issues.
Mm-hmm.
Where would they go? They can't go to their spouse and speak to this because they may just look at it, who you lusting,
Right.
right? So go to an atmosphere where you're not judged for that. Matter of fact, you're informed, bro, I battle that too. This is how I navigate that. And we can walk this thing out together, brother. This is some techniques I use. This is how I battled it. This is how I stay focused. We can hold each other accountable, bro. And you're not going to get no judgment from me. So it's a tribe, it's a community of men who are able to allow their emotions to be expressed about the things they're battling without being judged. And we find ourselves sharpening each other in this atmosphere. So we have a weekly Zoom where I have some great facilitators with me. A couple of those men are in the YouTube chat now. And we just simply just encourage each other, speak out what we're navigating that week, that day, wherever God is leading us. And we try to be very transparent and honest with each other to help heal each other.
Yeah. I've joined it a few times. Ironically, I won't make any excuses. I forget. I honestly forget. I think about it
Understandable, man. Understandable.
after you go to Facebook and thank everybody for joining. Like, God, dog, I missed it again. But the few times that I've actually joined, I thought it was awesome. Number one, I thought it was phenomenal to be able to hear men, like I say, hear men that can be totally transparent in a space
Yeah,
and understand that there's no judgment there whatsoever. That the sole purpose of you being here is for us to build you up and to help you so that you can
that's
get
right.
these things out. I've even heard to where you've offered resources to some of these guys that needed different things and stuff like that. So I think that's absolutely phenomenal. So for those of you who are interested, I actually dropped the link to the Facebook
Thank you.
group
Thank you. Thank you.
in the chat. There it is right there. So you can go in the chat. It should be a hyperlink there. I'm not sure if they do hyperlinks with this or not because I've never tried to do it before. But if not, once this live stream ends, I'll go into YouTube and just type it directly into YouTube, so you have access to the Facebook group once this is over with. Because men do need a safe spot. Men need somewhere
Absolutely.
where they can go, where there are other men who are not there to judge them, but are there to help them. I firmly believe that iron sharpens iron, and we need to get back to that without judgment. So, kudos to you for the podcast, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So I know that I know there's a clothing line too, bro.
Yes. So I have an apparel line. I have a company called J. Crew Collections, and it was initially started for legacy. I have two sons,
Mhm.
and I don't want to leave this earth with teaching my sons to work a 9 to 5. That's
Right,
not my goal.
right.
My goal is to pass down legacy to my sons. That's my goal.
Yeah.
So J. Crew Collection was started for my two sons. I have a son who's into music, so I started a music aspect of J. Crew Collection, and I have another son who's into entertainment. He's into podcasting. He's into video. You can see it already. And my aspect is fashion. So I do have a fashion aspect of J. Crew Collection where I have Child of God, I have man of God, woman of God clothing. I have about 20 to 25 designs in my apparel store that anybody can go look at, check out. We got discounts always. And listen, that is just to display your fashion. I'm a person that believes you don't have to go to these higher end fashions to feel a certain way. I'm a person that believes I don't want to wear someone else's clothes like that. I'm a creator. Why
Yeah.
can't I create what I want to wear? So it's a store that enables you to display your identity. And that's the heart behind it.
It's funny you say that because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these brand name designer clothes that we're buying, that we're paying tons of money for, we're actually buying somebody else's last name.
That's it.
So I see you got a couple of your guys in the chat, man. Even you, go ahead and drop the link to the apparel store, and we'll plug that in the chat as well. And if for some
Absolutely.
reason or another the link won't create a hyperlink, I'll take it when we're done. I'll put it in the comments on the YouTube channel, so you guys will have access to that also. And I think what I want to do, man, I want to buy a shirt myself, and I'm gonna wear it on my live stream. So if anybody sees the shirts and like it, then we'll have the link to that particular shirt in the comments so people can buy it. I definitely want to do everything I can, man, to help you know small business owners to grow their brand and grow things like that, because
Thank you.
I
Thank you. I
understand
agree.
how
I'm the
important
same
it
way.
is. I understand how important it is for us to support us, and for us to not be afraid of competition and stuff like that. Well, I got a clothing line too, so why would I
Yeah.
support him? Man, look, it's enough money at the top for everybody.
Everybody.
And the cool part about once you
Everybody.
get to the top, now you become an influencer, so you can create ways to make money for one another. I just wish we can get past that point to where we're always competing and we can
That's it,
start
bro.
collaborating.
That's a poverty mindset, though.
Scarcity.
A poverty mindset will always think survival. And one thought process of us of thinking from a survival standpoint is thinking, I have to hide, or I have to not share, or I have to not promote something so I can have it, so I will have enough resources just for me.
Mm-hmm.
But a
Yep.
wealthy mindset doesn't think that way. A wealthy mindset is there's abundance in all of this, and money don't run out. So if you create something, I create something, you may have an audience for what you create. I may have an audience for what I create. Our audience may even be the same, but there's enough of abundance where one person, two people, three people can still prosper in it.
Yeah. I always say, man, poverty starts in the mind well before it shows itself in the checking account.
That's correct. That's
All the
right,
time.
man.
All the time, man. So look, bro, before I let you go, man, we gotta have this conversation again, bro. I know it won't be like it was when we had it the first time. Because when we had it the first time, it was so authentic and it was so fire.
Yeah.
And but guys, the reason why I wanted to start this platform is I just think that there are so many images that we see on a daily basis that present us in such a bad light. I think there's so many images right now, and it could be intentional, that show us as men we're confrontational, we're
Mm.
not intelligent,
Yeah.
we don't think, we don't plan beyond today. And I was so honored to have this gentleman on because I knew that he was going to come on and that he was going to represent us well. And I think that we need to get to a point collectively to where we as men, that we stand up and that we lead and that we show ourselves worthy. And it starts with us. It starts with us getting on platforms like this, because we know that the general media will never air stuff like this.
Facts.
There are no television shows where you see positive black men communicating on a level where they're worried more about perspective versus being right or wrong.
Yes.
You see us, we sticking our chest out, we using vulgarity, we're argumentative, we're confrontational. That I think that, and people do all that for money. But I was telling you earlier that I truly believe that if we can get together and show people that we can have conversations, does not mean that we'll always agree, but we can have conversations in an intelligent manner. It separates us from the flock.
Yeah.
And even though there's a large segment of society that wants everything to be a carbon copy of something else, I also believe there's a large segment of society that's looking for something different. I
Yeah.
think there's a segment of society right now that's waiting for a group of people to have the emotional intelligence to step out on faith, be authentically you, and educate other people to the degree that we can be ourselves, we can portray ourselves in an intelligent manner, we can collaborate, we can do things together. And even though some of these people who want to see this may not organically be leaders, but I think if the platform is there, I think if the opportunity presents itself, that we will find that there are a lot of people who've been waiting for us to step out and do this thing to a point to where we can show them that you don't have to dumb yourself down. You
That's
don't
good.
have to break your articulation. You don't have to lower your communication skills. That you can be authentically you. You can sound educated. You can talk your facts. You can talk your talk. And at the same time, that there are other people who will support you. There are other people who are ready to help build you. And those who want to do the same will come and our numbers will grow.
I agree with you. You preaching first and foremost. You preaching, sir. But no, I definitely agree with you. Society has a way of making us all be uniformed.
Mm,
And that's what we were saying earlier.
yeah,
Society have a way to make us all be uniform. We have to look the same way. We have to wear the same things. We have to say the same things. We have to promote it the same way. If you even go on some of these social networks, even when it becomes to branding, if you don't brand a certain way, you don't get noticed, or people think you're weird, or people say, hey, that's not right because the algorithm is not going to pick it up. There's even a uniform way for the algorithm to actually endorse you or promote you, and it has to be uniform. A lot of
right.
what society does is create us to be robots, and
Yep.
when and have a not have this. We have to have the same thought process. We have to say the same things. It has to be PR. It has to be embraced by everybody. It has to. It's really becomes to the part of it removes individuality and outside thinking. And now they're telling you how to think, how to dress, how to act, how to look. And when you don't follow that uniform structure, then you are deemed weird or crazy or out of your mind or bigot or bi. It's a whole list of words and definitions they use if you don't follow the rules they set.
Right.
And what I've learned is that that creates people who then feel pressured to be a certain way that society makes them. And if they are not that way, then they're crazy and weird. They're not accepted, they're rejected, and then they become depressed and suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I talked about this earlier about we love to preach mental health and awareness, yet we're creating people who feel pressured by not fitting the standards of what you're saying is they should be.
Yeah, that's solid, man. That's solid, bro. Man, it was ironic that we came across each other the way that we did.
Yeah, man, it was. It absolutely was.
It was ironic, man. But I left there that day. I said, man, I relate a lot to that guy. And that's awkward because I really thought I was a unicorn. I thought I was the anomaly. I didn't think there was another me anywhere else on this planet. But when we met the first time, we genuinely connected.
Yep.
I came back there on a separate time and I met somebody else that was in the church, and he had the same anointing on him.
Yeah.
Ramaya and I know each other because Ramaya has helped build websites for me. I've joined a couple of Ramaya's trainings. Ramaya's absolutely dope. So he goes to church there. So I'm like, man, like all these people attend the same church, and everybody that goes here is dope. I've caught Pastor Rowe on one of Ramaya's lives. He goes on Twitter, Instagram every morning, and he has the prayer on Instagram every morning. And
Yep.
ironically, when he starts the prayer is usually when my workday has ended, so I'm coming home. So I've started catching that every day. And the church, man, even though I'm not a member, I've never attended, which I absolutely need to change that. Hint, hint. The church has blessed me in so many ways. Just with some of the people that I've met, the business venture that I had there and some other things. So um I just want to tell you, man, I appreciate you for being you, bro. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you for being authentically you. I think it's a beacon of light that people, especially young kids, see that they don't have to fit a certain mold,
Yeah.
that they can be authentically themselves, and the right people will come and they will surround you and they will support you, and everybody can grow together. So I appreciate you for being you. Even indirectly, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your prayers. I know we've talked about doing some things, in the future together, that we
Yes.
can help try to build one another. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, man. So is there anything that you want to say in closing? Because I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down because literally I would have you on this joint all night. But is there anything that you want to say in closing, man?
What I would say in closing, I think you hit everything, man. This has been an amazing interview. I would say this in closing, and I think we landed on this, is be uniquely you.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that need you to be you.
Yes.
And you have to be comfortable with doing that. I know what society tells us, but be uniquely you and embrace you uniquely being you, because there's people that need you to be you. Man, I appreciate you being you, brother. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this platform. It has been amazing.
Oh man, this is the first of many, man. This is the first of many, man. I think, like I said earlier, I know, I don't think I know. I know that this is needed. I know that it's needed. I know that people need to see that we can have conversations in an intelligent way, and that we can collaborate, and that we can grow together. There's no doubt in my mind that, you know, change starts with us. We can't sit back and wait for somebody to build platforms and infrastructures for us to do our thing.
Yeah,
We have
we
to
have
do
to
it
do it.
ourselves.
We have to do it.
Yeah, even if it means we have humble beginnings, you know, like we talked about earlier. If you build it, they say if you build it, they'll come. I believe wholeheartedly that if we build this thing, that people will come, and you know that we all can grow together. So man, I appreciate you for being on. I appreciate everybody that was in the chat. Like I say, man, do your boy a favor, man. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. The larger the
Subscribe.
channel gets, the more people we can reach, the more resources we'll have. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I want you to go ahead and like this screen. Liking this screen, actually, like you talked about, works with the algorithm. So the more subscriptions we have, the more likes that we have, the more we can get the message out. And go ahead and hit the notification bell, because what you see here tonight is the type of information that we want to get out to the masses. This is the type of platform that we want to build, and we want you guys to be able to come back week in and week out to have these discussions with us. So tomorrow night, I'm having another elevated conversation. It's tax time.
Okay.
It's tax season, man. And right now, with everything going on in the government, there are so many misconceptions about tax season. I'm not biased, but the lady who takes care of my money, she know the real. So I'm actually going to have a live stream tomorrow. Now we're going to start a little bit early because I have basketball practice with my little league team tomorrow night. So we're going to start the stream at 6 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. And I'm going to have on Miss Jennifer Vale. She's an enrolled agent with the IRS. And most importantly to me, she's the CPA for the trademark companies. She's the lady that handles all my money. She's the lady that knows where all the bodies are hidden. So we're going to have her on tomorrow, and she's going to talk to us about a couple things in particular. Number one, we're going to talk about the child tax credit advance that a lot of people got. A lot of misconceptions about that. Some people think they don't have to pay it back. Some people think that they do. Jennifer's going to tell you guys about the child tax credit advance on tomorrow night. She's going to talk to you guys about how the stimulus money that we got last year affects us today, and how it's going to affect our kids in 20 years. A segment that I am super interested in is she's going to talk about the PPP loans. Those of us that got it legally, and those of us that got a little bit creative. Those of us that, as you said earlier, used our imagination and pretend and wished that we had a business and filled that document out and got all that money, knowing good and doggone well. I'm from the country, knowing good and doggone well you don't have a business. So she's going to tell you about the repercussions of those actions. And she's also going to talk about the tax breaks that you get by having a home-based business, guys. A lot of people don't know that if you have a home-based business, you get the same tax breaks that Walmart gets if you know how to structure it and how to get your documentation in line. It's 2022, man. I told you guys, man, I'm holding you guys accountable. We're going to eliminate all the excuses this year. All the resources you need, I'm going to bring them to you. The people that you need, I'm going to bring them to you. This will be the year that you look back and realize that you did something for the better that changed the trajectory of your last name for the rest of your life. Some of it's going to be from a mindset perspective. Some of it's going to be financial. Some of it would be from a spiritual perspective. But everything that you need, guys, I'm going to try to bring it to you. And if you have any suggestions about topics that you want to hear about or people that you want me to bring to you, then go ahead and hit me up. My name's on the channel, but this is our channel. We're building this while we fly it, and we want everybody to come and get on board. So go ahead one more time and like this thing before we ball out. So, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate each and every one of you for joining us today. Go back and look at archive videos that we had. We had a phenomenal live stream on Tuesday night. On Tuesday night, we talked about single parenting.
Ooh, that's a good
one. I had 4 young ladies that got on the panel. And when I tell you their transparency was phenomenal, talking about the stigmas associated with single parenting, talked about the social aspect of single parenting, talked about how difficult it is to date being a single parent. And when I tell you they knocked it out of the water, they knocked it out of the water, man. I did not expect those ladies to be as transparent as they were on that live stream, but they helped a lot of people. I'm still getting comments right now about how much that live stream blessed a lot of people. So go back and check out the archives of the videos that we've done in the past. Come back and join us again tomorrow night and every night. That's why you can hit the notification bell so you know what we got going on. Appreciate you, bro.
It's an honor. Thank you so much, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us tonight. We bid you all a good evening. Thank you again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you guys again next time. Peace.